Well, it's Scott Fowler time. Charlotte Observer sports columnist. He's been doing it since 1994 and had some things to say about David Tepper, the Carolina Panthers owner, fined $300,000. And as Scott says, will he take the punishment to heart? Scott, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. I heard what you said earlier, and I am realizing I only come on your show when bad things are happening.
Yeah. Let me go back to the incident. When you first saw it, what was your reaction?
Oh, gosh. When I first saw it, I guess I just dropped my head like, oh, man, here we go. Here goes the next 3 days of my life dealing with this. And it's been about 3 days now. So I was not, terribly surprised because, as we call them around here, Tepper tantrums, they do occur. But this was a different type. It was far more public and just a silly thing to do.
What did you think of the punishment?
Not enough, I thought. I thought the fine, Bud Adams, as you may have mentioned, was fined $250,000 in 2009 for shooting the bird twice. And 14 years later, I feel like inflation should have upped that. Plus, I think this is more personal, Dan. In my Southern vernacular here, I would call such an incident just plain nasty. That was not cool. Especially in the post-COVID era, to throw a drink that presumably has germs on it and stuff in the direction of some people. So I thought more like, as I wrote in the column, I thought more like $1 million might have been a nice round number here.
I just kept thinking, if you want to punish a billionaire, don't let him go play with his toys. You just say you can't go to the game, because $300,000 is a lot to everybody in America, but to a guy worth $20 billion, I would embarrass him. I would give him a timeout, and so I thought he got off with slap on the wrist with $300,000.
That's a good point. The suspension, I wondered about that too, Dan. So you think he should have been? I really thought they were going to probably suspend him for one game, and I think he's embarrassed anyway, because I will say this about Dave Tepper. He likes to consider himself a man of the people. He likes to think of himself as the billionaire next door, as a guy who you might have a drink with, as opposed to somebody who's going to toss a drink on someone. I think he likes that perception. And so this has hurt, I think, it's been embarrassing for the Panthers to have this sort of thing dominate the news cycle for a day or two. But certainly a suspension would have hurt even more.
Why not get this out earlier? Why not the team in Tepper right away? Like, why are we waiting 2 days for this? And it's not an apology that he put out. He doesn't.
No, it's not.
He didn't learn anything from this. And yes, he might be embarrassed. When you blame your passion, Scott, so your passion is the reason why, all of a sudden we go, okay. It's like when Andy Pettitte was using steroids. He said, why? I wanted to get back and help my team. Well, okay. Everybody gets to use steroids. Tepper or whoever the PR people, they tried to sneak this one by the goalie.
Yeah, I have no idea why. Two things. One, that the word apology wasn't contained in this 3-sentence statement. He said he had regret, but he didn't apologize to anyone or just say, I'm sorry. America loves to forgive people. We've all seen that. But the road to forgiveness begins with saying, hey, man, I really messed this up. I am sorry. And then, secondly, I just think it may be the deep passion thing. You think about it the other way. A lot of fans are deeply passionate. So what would happen if a fan took a drink and threw it on a player, an owner, or anything?
Yeah.
A lot worse than this.
Scott Fowler covers the Carolina Panthers, been a sports columnist in Charlotte since 1994. Finish this. If the Carolina Panthers had the number 1 pick in the draft this year, they would do what?
Probably trade it for assets. I don't think they'd draft, Caleb Williams or something. I think, of course, the new coach will have a lot to say about this, that they're going to be sold on Bryce Young at least for one more year. Of course, they've traded it away to Chicago. But what they really need, if they were going to use it, Dan, they might, if they had it hypothetically, Marvin Harrison or something.
Okay.
They need weapons so badly here. They never score any points. They got shut out last week. I mean, it's been a horrendous year in a lot of ways. Take out the drinks and everything else, they're just a bad, boring offense.
But if you're looking at this team right now as they move forward, is this a place where a coach wants to, like, would Bill Belichick want to have this kind of owner?
I don't think so.
Or Jim Harbaugh want to have this kind of owner?
Harbaugh and the Teppers talked last year, at least through intermediaries. So maybe, but you'd certainly think the plum here is wherever you can go coach Justin Herbert, a valued talent and an obvious NFL star. Here you got to be sold not only on Dave Tepper, you got to be sold on Bryce Young, because that's the quarterback they're going to give you. So on a rookie contract, make it work. So if you're Ben Johnson or somebody, and they've fired Dan 3 different coaches in 6 years in the middle of the season. 3 times that's happened. Ron Rivera, Matt Rule, Frank Reich this year. So that's, I think, really the real sticking point. If I were a coach, I'd be like, I don't want that stain on my resume. I got to have some time. I got to have some guarantees.
When Christian McCaffrey was traded, what was the local reaction in Carolina?
The local reaction was mixed. Of course, people love McCaffrey, and there's still a lot of 22 jerseys in the stands here in Charlotte every Sunday. But I tell you what, Christian McCaffrey was very beloved here. And one thing people did say a lot was, good for Christian McCaffrey. Thank God he's getting out. It's like he'd been released from Shawshank or something. And boy, has he never, I know he's sitting out this week, but he's never been hurt. Ever since he's left, he's had the best stretch of his career. So, I mean, people are happy here, I suppose, for Christian. But that, DJ Moore, I mean, those were their 2 best weapons. They're both having career years in other places this year.
All right, let's take a bet. Do I get a hold of Scott Fowler before the start of next season? Will there be a reason? Marvin, you say yes. Todd?
No doubt.
Okay, no doubt. Paulie?
I like Scott, but I think the owner's going to go silent for a few months. I'm going to say no.
Okay. Seton, what do you think? Do I get a hold of Scott Fowler before the start of next season?
I believe we do. Yes.
Okay. I do too, Scott.
Well, that's, I guess, reassuring.
Well, something bad's going to happen.
Well, I'm your man for that.
Yes, yes, you are. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
That's Scott Fowler, Charlotte Observer sports columnist since 1994. You got to have a sense of humor there.